Live from Vegas, I'm here to tell you why the Denver Nuggets kind of suck right now. I've got Swipa with me. We'll break down the Rockets game, why Nikola Jokic is struggling. We'll talk about composure. We'll get into the refs, and we'll try and answer this question. Who's playing well for the Nuggets right now? All that and more on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily source for all things Nuggets from the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us your first listen. Appreciate you guys being with us and being an everydayer. Thanks for checking us out. Sorry, no show yesterday. Decided to go ahead and wait and do a post-game show off of the game versus the Houston Rockets. So we appreciate you guys being with us here on a Saturday. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network in Las Vegas. No, this is not a club backing. This is the railing, and then underneath the wind you can't see it, but there's a Las Vegas skyline behind me, so that's pretty cool. I'm in town for the in-season tournament. I'm joined by Swipa. You can follow him on Twitter at SwipaCam. On today's show, we'll break down the Nuggets loss to the Rockets, why it happened, what's going on with the team, where is Jokic's head at. We'll talk about composure and the officiating in the second segment, and try and find a middle ground everyone can agree on as far as what's going on with Denver and the officiating. And then in the third segment, I want to ask Swipa this very simple but very important question. Who's playing well right now for the Nuggets? Because it doesn't seem like there's a lot. I want to let you know that today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Let's get into it, Swipa. First off, man, how's your Saturday going?
It's going well. Snowing here in Colorado, so that has affected the energy of the city a little bit. But hopefully people get moving around. It was actually started snowing heavy during the game last night, which was very much a symbolism for what happened. There was just no energy at all in the arena until the fourth quarter, so it was a very interesting night.
Getting bogged down in the snow. I saw that Mares made a comment. He was like, "Oh, it's gonna be a Jamal night because the forecast says flurries," and instead there was just a flurry of technicals at the end of this game. Zamora says, "I need this show right now. Tell us what's wrong." Well, I think we can start here. So after the worst game of his career against the Los Angeles Clippers, Nikola Jokic followed that up with a 9 of 26 performance. Joker had 23 points on 26 shots, 16 rebounds. He continues to rebound the hell out of the ball. Just 5 assists to 3 turnovers, 2 blocks in this one, including a pretty brutal one in the fourth quarter against Alfred Şengün. Shot 1 of 2 from 3-point range. Look, I think there's a lot of questions about what's going on with Nikola. It's clear something's not right. Well, let me kind of zoom out a little bit. We can go like divergent paths. If you're like, this is so far off of how he usually plays that clearly something is wrong. And there are things going on that I don't really want to speak to right now because I don't understand enough about it yet. That could be a distraction. There is the possibility of, he just had 2 bad games. Like, he hasn't had 2 bad games like this in 4 years, but it happens. Like, there are these recorded instances of these great guys. Everybody has stretches like this. There is the third option, which is it's the wrist again. I don't think there's any sort of indication that he's got an injury. There's not, he probably would have been listed on the report with wrist soreness in case it was bothering him. It wasn't. So I kind of think that he had 2 bad games, but I also think that the fourth quarter kind of indicated a little bit of a turnaround. I think he came out of it in the fourth quarter. I wouldn't be surprised if he's back to his normal dominant MVP self in the next game versus Chicago. But in the fourth quarter, 4 of 7 from the field for 11 points, 5 boards, 2 assists. That's more like it. So it lasted for essentially a game and 3 quarters. But I do think that he started to come out of it in that fourth quarter, which spurred the comeback.
Yeah. I think got a little bit more aggressive. He did hit 1 3 last night. Got to the free throw line some last night. But then really, he getting back in the game, Matt, and I think they were down 25 points. So at that point, it's like, if he's coming back in the game, then you're going to at least try to play hard and see if you can get back in the game, or we're just going to kind of fold and just walk away and chalk it up to, just another regular Friday night in a regular season in December. but came out aggressive, started hitting some of those shots, but his floater has not been going. And he started the game off, Matt, missing 2 floaters yesterday. And you could just tell, like, the overall audience, everybody that was in the arena was kind of aghast when that happened. And I think in the fourth quarter, the energy shifted. I think a lot of this had to do with the stagger they went to. They left Peyton Watson in. They left Reggie Jackson in. They had Jamal Murray, and they had Michael Porter Jr. playing the 4 instead of Aaron Gordon. Because you're very much aware, Aaron Gordon offensively has not been producing at the level that he was to start the year, and obviously especially not last season. And so I think they spaced the floor out a little bit, and that group started playing with so much effort. And I think by then, the Joker started getting inside, started converting on some of those looks, got a couple of and ones, got fouled multiple times that didn't get called, including some things that you can find on my Twitter page right now where Jokic is getting absolutely slaughtered by Şengün and getting called a jump ball. So it was just one of those games, Matt, where the Rockets didn't even have a lot of energy to start the game. It's not like either team came out like just blazing. It was just the Nuggets were so slow out of the break. I think they went down. I think Jokic went out of the game, and I think he might have been a -6 in his minutes. And then eventually you get in halftime, and it's like this crazy deficit where it's only 4 points or something. And then they get to the third quarter, Matt, and it's like the wheels came off. And it's like a -18, basically. So it was just one of those things. And they're at home. This team had been undefeated at home, and you had the full arsenal, everybody available to play today. And they just were looking like a team that is playing in December and just doesn't think that this point in the season is meaningful at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of like your attention starts to wane. I think that they pushed themselves a little too hard in that beginning of the season. I think that Malone's and like Malone's talked about this, about how they kind of like he challenged them to push through that hard schedule stretch in the beginning. The problem is like it doesn't end. Like you get through a tough stretch. This is how the NBA works: is you get through a tough stretch of schedule, and what that means is that you're done with back-to-backs and 4 and 7s and 5s and 7s and 7s and 11s and 11s and 13s or whatever. And you get through all of that, and then your break is you will get like 3 days off, and then you're back to like every other day. That's like the break in the NBA. And so pushing through that was probably going to have a consequence. And like they've looked less focused, less interested, and just like tired, mentally tired. Hastings and Marlowe made comment of that in the game last night, that they looked mentally tired. And that's honestly a much bigger problem for teams to play through than the physical stuff, because they have all sorts of means to address the physical side. Like they do have nutritionists, and they do have the best in care, and they do have trainers whose entire job is to get them ready to play. But like the mental side is just something that you kind of have to manage, which is, I think, really difficult. The bench, like here's what's kind of, a lot of these numbers are really funny, where like the bench was really bad in the first and the third.
Mm-hmm.
And like through the third quarter, Julian Strawther was a -15 in 4 minutes. That was an absolutely apocalyptic stretch. Reggie was -11 in 15. Peyton Watson was -6 in 13. Christian Brown was -2 in 11 minutes, despite playing a lot of minutes with Jokic. DeAndre actually was a +5 in 8:42 through 3 quarters. And then Justin Holiday was a -9 in 5 minutes and 20 seconds. And then the fourth quarter, pops up, and Reggie's on the court in a lot of stretches with Nikola there at the end. So he winds up with a +15 in that quarter. Peyton Watson finishes the game on the floor, which I didn't agree with, by the way, and is a +10. Look, I get the reason to play Peyton, because Aaron Gordon gave them nothing. 22 minutes played, 1 of 5 from the field. He had 6 rebounds, I'm sorry. 3 assists, 1 foul. 1 of 5 from the free throw line, which continues to be a big problem. Was a -12 for 3 points. Like AG's playing terrible. I don't know that you bench him or KCP for.
Well, I think it was the energy KCP was providing, though. I think might have been what Malone was thinking. I think when Peyton was in the game, that's when they went on their run. The 18-0 run happened. And again,
and then what happened? He missed the layup.
Yeah, no, for sure. But again, I think some of this is, Matt, obviously you've been covering basketball a long time. How much of this is actually about all those little itty-bitty mistakes that you get with some of the missed layups and missed reads and stuff, for sure. But right now at this point in time in the season, letting Peyton play that momentum. He had the momentum carrying him into the fourth quarter. He was a part of the reason why they went on an 18-0 run. And again, if he makes that layup, it becomes a 5-point game, I think it might have been, or something like that. So for sure. But I think some of this is coaching him through his mistakes, letting him get used to playing these minutes. And then maybe later in the season, obviously, I think Malone put KCP in. I just don't think yesterday was the moment which Malone felt, wow, we need to just go full bore, throw KCP back in there and see if we can get that done. And I just think that Peyton's momentum defensively especially, he was really good for the rest of the game, I think, from the fourth quarter on. I think he made a lot of key plays, got some really big rebounds in there, and he got some nice deflections, contested a lot of shots. So I think all that led to Malone keeping him on the court.
We'll talk more about this on the other side because I got some different thoughts because folks are talking him up, and I just disagree with the assessment. We'll talk about that more. Plus, Swipa and I will go head to head on the officiating. That should be a good time. We'll talk about that up next on Locked On Nuggets. Right now, I want to tell you about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is amazing. With basketball season here over at PrizePicks, you can do combo projections across football and basketball. So you can do stuff like LeBron James and Travis Kelce at a 10.5 combo of 3-pointers and receptions. You can do stuff like that, or you can do. They've also got they've got other celebrities. They've got like Meek Mill, comedian Andrew Schultz. They're in the community plays tab to see what they're playing. They've got a reboot policy so that if your guy gets injured, they'll refund you. They'll get rebooted at the half. Awesome stuff there. You're not playing against all these models and lots of other players. It's just you versus the projections. You pick more or less on their stats. That's all you're doing. They offer Apple Play for quick and easy deposits into your account this basketball season. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us, making this part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us. Swipe it alongside Matt Moore tonight. Couple of comments I want to get to. Ted says stagger AG and Yoke with the bench and give him the ability to eat on some backups. Not going to happen. Yoke has told Malone, I don't want to do that. I want to play first quarter to the end, third quarter to the end, last 5 minutes of second and fourth, or like last 7 minutes of second and fourth. That's a player decision, not a coach one. And Yoke is not going to change his mind on that. So like that's off the board for right now. You got something, Swipa?
Yeah, I was going to ask you actually with the PrizePicks thing. So Pacheco's out tomorrow. So if you're playing fantasy, are you rather starting Jerick McKinnon for the passing yardage, or are you looking at CEH for the volume?
McKinnon for sure, because I think he'll actually do something with the ball. Okay. For once, which would be nice. Just something, anything really. So look, here's my thing with Watson is, and I'm a little frustrated with like how this goes, where the players that get to play with Jokic wind up looking really good, and everyone gets like, he played really well. Like he played with Jokic. Like you played with Jokic. Play Justin Holiday there, and I think you're gonna have better results. You know why? Justin Holiday knows what he's doing. Like Justin Holiday knows what he's doing. I don't love the spacing with Peyton Watson on the floor. Like that to me is a problem. There's like a lot of there's like a lot of crowding that's going on because teams know that Watson's not a shooter. He had a few early in the season. He's just not a shooter. Neither is Christian. Like they have one shooter on the bench right now, and that's Julian Strother. And that's it. And Julian's making rookie mistakes because that's what rookies do. And like I'm not mad at Julian. I don't think that Julian's like not playable. I think Julian's had really good moments this season, but like that's all they have for spacing. And so, especially when you're trying to make a comeback, like you need really timely buckets. And so I don't know. I wind up feeling like I get it. It's fine. I just am always kind of like, hey, Peyton he played with Jokic. I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, I think you still have to give Peyton what he's done defensively, though. Even just the last several games, the matchup we had versus KD, the matchup we had versus PG and Kawhi, they were both positives. He both held them to below 50% from the field. And then even yesterday, he played well defensively, and he also did rebound the basketball. He was on the glass. He was contesting. So there were things that he was doing that was
Let me ask you, though. Is he a better defender than Aaron Gordon or Kentavious Caldwell-Pope?
Well, you're an EPM guy, so I don't know.
No. We don't. I love EPM, but like, is Peyton Watson a better defender than Kentavious Caldwell-Pope?
He's a better defensive playmaker than probably both of them, but not a better consistent technical defender.
I wouldn't agree on KCP, but on AG, I would agree he's a better playmaker. So like this just kind of gets to where, and like this isn't a real debate, right? Because like AG is going to close games and it's fine for one game. And I get it because like Malone, like a lot of coaches, is always like, this is working, let's try and ride this momentum. I find in the NBA that actually to be really like a bad strategy overall. I have way more instances of where a coach tries to ride a lineup to the bitter end instead of just going back and showing them a different look, because like at some point you do kind of start to adjust. And honestly, all that happened last night is they ran out of steam. They missed a layup. They missed some opportunities. And then there was the foul calls, which we should get into. MPJ, and we'll talk about him a lot in the fourth segment because he's the only player I think that we can both agree he's playing well. I do want to say this, that watching the broadcast from home was really interesting because I can tell that if I was at the arena, like I texted Ryan this, that if I was at the arena, I would have thought that these were weak calls. But when you're on the broadcast and Marlowe and Hastings are both like, oh yeah, it's clear foul. Like he definitely reached on him or he definitely bumped him there. Like you can see like the one where MPJ throws the ball down in frustration.
Yeah.
The replay shows like it's a clear foul. He gets called for the hold on Şengün. Like he's holding him. Marlowe's like, well, he's holding him there. Like,
well, I think in the replay you saw like a little bit of a push, but I think it was just I think for them, from what I got yesterday, hearing from Murray, and then obviously Malone was in the press conference, it felt like there had been several incidences over the course of the game that had led up to that frustration, to that moment. And now they're on their run, and for them, there are some ticky-tack fouls that were getting called on their end, but when they were down in the other court, they did not feel that they were getting the adequate calls that reflected what was happening, especially on the interior for Joker, for instance. So I think there was a collection of the momentum and then that stuff happening. And then honestly, like, Matt, if you would have been there, it's like when they were coming back in the first place, the realistic thing, Matt, coming back from 25 with 9 minutes left, you're probably not going to do it anyway. But I think for them, when they got those technicals, especially that MPJ one, for me, that was just more of like a competitive frustration and why are we in this situation? We did this to ourselves kind of technical. Like it was just slamming the ball out of just pure rage of the moment. And again, it didn't cost them anything because, okay, you don't get that technical. Now you're down, 7 instead of 8 or whatever. I don't think it changed the outcome of the game, but it just felt like there have been things that have been cascading up to that point in the game.
I'll actually say that I think the bigger thing is not the points. It's more that it helps stem the momentum because it adds another point for them to be able to, like, it stems the tide a little bit more. And for me, like those technicals and like, I don't know, I'll say this. I have a high bar for guys because they're professionals and they play and they do this so often. At the same time, I try and be understanding of like, no, like they got frustrated. They picked up a tech. It happens. Like that's basketball. That's just basketball. Like it's happened a million times. It will happen a million times. It's not like this big glaring, like it doesn't reveal character, composure, or anything like that. I will say though, that it's a shame because I felt like they had them on the ropes. And when they got so frustrated with the officiating, I actually felt like they let them off the hook a little bit because they started like the Rockets. Şengün was turtling after taking it to Joker for 3 quarters and really most of the series between these two teams. Şengün was really starting to be overwhelmed. He got blocked on that play by Joker, and like he was tentative and really like rattled. And then like they start picking up, and then their energy starts going to the officials.
Right.
And this happens. Look, I'm battling with people on Twitter about it, and like here's the reality: is like it's a fan's right to boo the officiating. It's a fan's right to feel like you're getting screwed. Like my only thing is, if you want to like have a serious conversation about it, every single fan base, every single one, thinks they get screwed. I get Lakers fans that feel they don't get a good whistle, and they are the one team that I
will say this though. So Jake Coyne did put up that I don't know if you saw that tweet he put up yesterday about Joker and the amount of shot attempts he's had relative to foul. I get it. I'm not saying he deserves every foul call, but I will say Joker in particular does have a case for the shooting fouls for sure. Absolutely get that. I will say this on the other end. I don't think that the whistle is why they've been losing. And I don't think Nuggets fans feel the whistle is why they've been losing. I do think that in large part, the whistle plus the mental fatigue, which you so acutely talked about earlier, all that put together, plus the road schedule, I think that all those things together have led to the moment of frustration. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of the outbursts that you're seeing. So I don't think it's just that. I think it's a collection of everything.
So I think a lot of this is I think you're right. You posted like the one where like Şengün clearly gets him. But at the same time, when we talk about shot attempts, it's like, well, he's shooting floaters, guys. Like he's shooting pick and pop floaters over and 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 over again. Like he's not like dunking through contact. Like Joker's entire thing is his ability to move away from you and make shots moving away. Again, I want to stress, I think Joker gets, but even that, last night it wasn't Joker losing his mind at the officials. He was pretty pissed off, but they didn't tee him up. They just teed up MPJ and Jamal. And I get that Jamal got like clotheslined or wrapped up, choked on a play and got really frustrated for the second tee. I just think that the focus, I think, is very much on like, why are you down 22 at home to the Rockets? And like, to me, it's always like you're letting him off the hook a little bit by making it about the officiating. But I do get that. I don't think Joker gets a good whistle. I don't have any explanation for it. I don't know how to.
Murray also said this yesterday when, because Ryan had to ask the question about Joker shooting, and he immediately cut him off, which again, as a player, I fully understand. It's just he doesn't care. Joker can miss as many shots as he wants. He's going to miss shots. Murray's going to miss shots. Porter's going to miss shots. Again, the question had to be asked. But for their perspective, though, it seems they're not playing their best brand of basketball. And the officiating, and again, this is what the Nuggets have done traditionally. Even in the Lakers series, Matt, when we talked about this going into the series last year, we knew they were going to win the whistle. You're not going to win the free throw whistle versus them, but you have to beat them in the things that matter. And I think right now the Nuggets are not excelling in the things that matter to them. They're not dominating like they should be on the board. They're not dominating in paint points, and their rotations on defense have not been super solid. The effort on defense hasn't been super solid. They just haven't collectively since they started 9-2, or what I think it was 8-1. I think, Matt, there might be 6-8 since that point. So they've been losing games, and they're less than 500 since that point. And again, there's a lot of things to it. Like, the Kings loss obviously had reason. They missing somebody, and then obviously they get into the Clippers game, and the Clippers, even though Jokic didn't play well, I mean, the bench was a double-digit minus. And then this last game, it just kind of all the wheels kind of came off all at once. But Matt, it kind of feels like, and again, you let me know if you think I'm tripping. Last year, this same time last year, Matt, remember they lost to the Hawks, the Pelicans, and the Mavericks. Mm-hmm. And they lost to the Hawks by 8, the Pelicans by 15, and the Mavericks by 1, I believe, at home. And then from that point on, they went 19-3 the rest of the season. So I'm asking you, do you feel like because of everything they were kind of going through, they're going to get on the homestand here in a little bit? Do you feel like they're going to be able to pick up some of this momentum and get back on track? Or do you think they're going to be in this low a little bit longer?
I mean, I think they're gonna have a rough time on the road, and then they'll come home, and then they'll get right, and that's like the normal flow of the season.
Right.
Like that's like the average. That's like the normal flow of the season and how it goes. So I do think that they'll be fine. Teams go through this. Like every team goes through these ups and downs. The Wolves will have a down part of their season. The Thunder will have a down part of their season. The Celtics will have a stretch where it's like really rough. By the way, Random says maybe because they shot 42 free throws, bozo. They shot 42 free throws because they gave up technicals, and then they were fouling at the end because they were down so much. They were down 9 under a minute and still fouling because they were trying to like still kind of maybe pick back up the comeback. That's a rare thing. Usually when you're down 9 under a minute, guys are just playing it out and like, all right, we're done. Like the Nuggets elected last night to pick up a lot of free throws to extend the game. So like I don't want to hear about the big free throw discrepancy. A lot of that was created by where they were at, and earlier in the game it was because the Nuggets couldn't keep anybody in front of them because their defense has been bad too. Up next, we'll talk about this question because I think it's a really interesting one. I want to ask Swipa, who's playing well right now for the Nuggets? We'll get to that on the other side on Locked On Nuggets. Right now I want to talk about Jase Medical. I know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life, but can we talk for just a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. That's scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than my wife or one of my kids got sick with a supply chain issue that kept them from a life-saving medication they needed. I actually have this problem where like we get snowstorms pretty bad in northern Colorado, and I've had situations where we've been snowed in while my wife's had like a really bad sinus infection that was actually causing her to have a fever. That's really scary. Thankfully, we'll be okay because of Jase Medical. The Jase case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections. sinusitis, skin infections, among others. That stuff could happen to any of us. Visit jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. You'll be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jasemedical.com and use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order at Jase Medical. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us on a Saturday, going over the Rockets game and where the Nuggets are at right now. Kane is in here saying he'd ask for a trade. Just funny. Kane, they won the title last year, buddy. You gotta. I'm begging you. Please go make a drink. Just go make a drink. Probably Rakia. Go get some Rakia.
AG needs to be traded. MPJ, Jamal.
Yeah, MPJ. Jamal is the most popular one. Gotta trade Jamal. He's not reliable. So I'll ask you this. Joker obviously isn't playing well, and when Joker's not playing well, most folks aren't playing well.
It's 2 games, but it's just 2 games. He just had a 30-point triple-double with no turnovers, 3 games ago.
Okay, Joker's had 2 bad games. Who do you think is playing well for the Nuggets right now?
Well, Matt, let me know if you think this sounds good. 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists. While also, over the course of the last 10 games, by the way, 19, 8 and 2, and shooting 43% from 3, 75% from the line, and 52% from the field for Michael Porter Jr. Porter, funny enough, again, outside of that game versus the Clippers with no Joker and Murray, he had 8 points. He's been actually very consistent shooting the ball very well. Now, defense has been spotty here and there, but he's rebounding better than he ever has in his career. I think Michael Porter Jr. arguably has been the most consistent Nuggets recently, outside of obviously Jokic in the last 2 games.
Yeah, I think I'll say this. MPJ is really popular with the fan base for obvious reasons. I think it's been a little overstated how well he's playing because of how much everyone else isn't playing well. Like the whole thing about we got to get him more than 8 shots last game. Do you? Yes. He was being defended. No, yes. I'll say this. Here's the thing. MPJ makes open shots. MPJ makes open shots when he catches and shoots and he doesn't fade away.
He attacked the closeout, got a floater, had multiple DHO 3-pointers in that game in the first quarter. He was 3 for 3 in the first quarter, and only one of them was open.
Okay. Do you know what changed? Because I went back and watched. The Clippers changed coverages. The Clippers made an adjustment. You know what the adjustment was? Hey, stay home on MPJ. We're not going to help off of him. And guess what happens when you don't help off of MPJ? The passing angles go away, and there's not really a whole lot. He's not a guy you can give the ball to and be like, go create. He's not.
Well, he's never. Joker is not going to go 9 for 32, which is why they lost the game. If
you're absolutely and you're absolutely look. Right. I'm not debating that the formula works because the formula does work. But you know what the formula is? Is that Jamal and MPJ or Jamal and Joker put enough pressure on them to where they have to help down, and then MPJ punishes them.
Right.
That's the formula. So the idea of it's not like MPJ is going to fix this. You can't put MPJ and be like, you know what, maybe we should run some more offense through MPJ. That's not going to work. It's just not going to work. I wish it could because I think it'd be good for his career, but I don't. And he's been better on attacking closeouts this season for sure. But again, a lot of this is because this is honestly a debate that teams have pretty consistently, which is, you want to play a more egalitarian style and get the ball moving and everyone touches the ball. But the question then is can your guys do something if teams allow that guy to catch and then they lock down on everybody else? Can you still create good offense that way? And I think honestly, MPJ can make some plays because he actually has shown a little bit this season. He's played really well. Last night I don't think he played bad defense last night. I think that Fred VanVleet targeted him on switches, and Fred's really good at specifically against MPJ. Fred is a smaller player with a low center of gravity who is very good at understanding how to manipulate contact. They were fouls. MPJ was fouling him because Fred VanVleet's really good at attacking those types of matchups and creating problems. That's not necessarily MPJ's fault. That's on the rest of the defense for not helping MPJ. You need to help him more so that he doesn't feel it. And you need to coach him to be hey, don't be so aggressive on him. Give him some room, funnel him to help. Because if you funnel him, if FVV doesn't want to go through 3 defenders and try and make a layup. That's not what he wants to do. Right. So like there has to be coaching adjustments there that kind of compensate for that. So I think Mike has played well, but I do think it's been like a little overstated. And it's just like, yeah, like he's a really good weapon on this team in his role. And
overstated?
Yeah, because
Like,
there is this idea of like, well, they just got to get him more shots. Like, okay, you want an easy way to give him shots? Is like, okay, we'll give him the ball at half court. Is that going to generate a shot? No. If teams don't leave him, how do you generate more shots for him, Swipa?
Well, I think some of this is, I think when people are talking about, well, I can't speak for other people, but I think some of this is there are ways to give him more involved as an off-ball scorer. I mean, similar to how they use Clay or even Steph at times. But again, some of this is MPJ doesn't command the same kind of gravity as Steph, so I'm not comparing them. But I think there are things that they can do, whether it's DHO. I mean, they're curl screens. There's all kind of stuff they can do for him. But I think the problem is.
Well, actually, I want to go back to that because here's the question: what happens when they run DHO with him? What does he do?
Well,
he goes to that. I'm going to come off the DHO, and then I'm going to take that gigantic ass awkward step back, and I'm going to fade away, and like he'll make it sometimes. But I would not say that he's like a great DHO weapon. Do you feel like he's a great DHO weapon?
I mean, he's pretty good, especially gets to the mid-range area. I think he's he's shooting very well from mid-range. So I think he's a very aggressive shooter from there. I think the other side of this is he's also developed his playmaking a little bit as well. So I think that some of this is like he's not ever going to be like an advanced creator for other people, but there are ways for them to get him more integrated into the offense. And Michael Malone even said this already, though. Like, and Malone, he talked about this in the pregame press conference that, MPJ made a joke about it. Like, so it wasn't like a big deal after he didn't get a lot of shots. He got 7 of 8 versus the Clippers. But Malone has talked about this. Like, when he got iced out of the game in the second half, because as you accurately said, the Clippers stopped helping off of him. Nonetheless, it still became too much Joker and Murray just because Joker wasn't on that night.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
You want to know who actually helps with that is Aaron Gordon. Like Aaron's going to be like that third facilitator to help that out. And like, yeah, you can definitely tell that the Nuggets were like, okay, it's winning time. Let's go hit him with we're just going to hit him with 2-man game over and over and over and over and over again. And it is kind of interesting because I do think that there's a little bit of tension where from Jamal's perspective, it's like, well, let's just do this because nobody can stop it. And either I'm going to get a shot or I'm going to get an assist and Joker's going to get bucket. Right. But it's also like, and I think it's tough where if you run it 3 times and you don't get points out of it, should you run it a 4th? You run it hundreds of times. You know how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're just as likely to score on that 4th one. You missing 3 in a row doesn't tangibly decrease the chances of you scoring on the 4th.
Well, and I think that's the other side of this too for Nuggets fans that might need to just Aaron Rodgers RELAX a little bit. And then I think for other fan base that are kind of celebrating and gloating and this Joker's not having a great 2-game shooting stretch, I think all this put together is more than likely Joker will never have stretches of basketball like this ever again. At least this season through the playoffs. So if you're banking, if your strategy is, we're just not going to help anymore. And we're just 2-1-2, Murray Jokic pick and roll. If Joker gets that floater, give it to him. If Joker gets a layup, give it to him. If Joker gets a mid-range shot, give it to him. Sure, more than likely, he's going to do that all the way to the second straight championship. So I'm saying that, like, I think it worked incrementally because Joker was off. But I think if your game plan switches to that, which I don't think any NBA team's actually going to do, but I think when you can do it, when you can make those kind of adjustments because they're having an off night, it will work. But 8 times out of 10, they'll kill you for it.
Yeah.
How you feel about Reggie Jackson?
Do what?
How you feel about Reggie Jackson and how he's been playing?
That's a good question. I think Reggie looked a lot better when he was playing with starters. I think Reggie looks really good when he's playing with Joker. And then when he's with the bench unit, he just kind of looks like Reggie, and it's going to be inconsistent at times.
Well, the pick and roll works well, but when they went to that zone, you remember versus the Clippers, and they basically said, we're not doing that at all. He just kind of became a spot-up shooter.
Yeah. I want to ask you this. Do you think that the bench is better, worse, or the same as last year?
Slightly better than last year.
Okay. Slightly better than last year. Last year without Nicole on the floor, they were minus 10.4. Okay, which is really bad. Guess what they are this year?
Wait, is this adjusting for the last couple games?
Yes.
Last couple games included? I don't even know, bro.
So they were minus 10.4 last year. They're minus 11 this year. They've been worse this year without Nikola on the floor than last year. So when everyone said, well, the bench can't get worse if you lose Jeff Green, it turns out you actually can get worse. I continue to have
in there though, but here, let me ask you this, because you obviously watch very closely. Do you feel that teams are targeting the bench more now, and then they did start early season, at least with some of the starter combos, whether it's Harden and PG or Fox and Sabonis, or even this last game, like we're just wanting to get like as many or at least a couple of starters out there, some of your main guys versus the bench units to stack up those minutes at all?
No, it's just an unfortunate consequence. More teams are staggering starters now because more teams have starters to stagger. Like the Clippers have 4 guys, so they can always have 2 to 3 starters on the floor and still manage their minutes. You know, last night, honestly, the Rockets running about as pure a second unit as you're going to see, and their bench is really good. So, no, mostly it's a product of the Nuggets, because they don't stagger Joker, which, you know, they would be better off doing. People suggested that earlier, and we kind of talked about it. They'd be better off with that, but that to me is always going to be a weak spot. And honestly, the question is just like, if they pull Joker out earlier and teams try to attack that unit, they're going to have less success versus the other 4 starters than they are versus no Joker and multiple other non-starters. That's really kind of the issue. That'll do it for Locked On Nuggets for Saturday. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. We'll see you guys again on Sunday night when I get back to Denver for World's Finest with Adam Mares tomorrow night. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Go to the YouTube page, youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. Follow Swipa on Twitter @SwipaCam. We'll see you guys again next time on Locked On Nuggets.